been proud to see him so strong. But all too soon.
Welcome back to Marvelous Videos. I'm Rylan. Batman is one of DC's finest superheroes, who has a reputation for consistently winning. In fact, if you ask any Batman fan, they will give you rational points on how he may overcome even God, and you will be unable to argue. That could be why people were so divided about the portrayal of the Caped Crusader by Robert Pattinson, as he was clearly a rookie Batman learning the craft of the business. We must respect the fact that the attraction of Batman is that he's merely human, which means he makes mistakes like everyone else. Bruce Wayne lacks any superpowers, other than billions of dollars of cash and the resources of a small nation, but he does possess incredible talents that have allowed him to travel in the highest circles of the superhero world. While Batman is recognized for his ability to defeat practically anybody with ample preparation time, well, he has suffered numerous significant defeats throughout the years. So today, we will be talking about 15 such failures of Batman. But before we get into our explanation, we do have one very small request. If you like our content, then please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is just one small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thanks. Now, let's begin. The Joker was created by Batman. One of the things which remained a mystery throughout the tenure of DC Comics was the origin story of the Joker. We don't know his real name or even where he came from. The Joker has claimed several identities, including being the son of an abusive father who shattered his nose, as well as the long-lived gesture of an ancient king. Like any other comic, he utilizes whatever stuff will work, according to Batman. Nevertheless, in Detective Comics issued in 1951, Bill Finger created his most famous origin tale of the psychotic clown. According to this tale, the Joker was formerly the Red Hood, a masked bandit who fell into an acid vat while attempting to elude Batman. The villain emerged from the cauldron with corpse-white skin, green hair, and an unsettling perma-grin. Alan Moore and Brian Boland drew on this narrative of the Clown Prince's origin in their groundbreaking 1988 graphic novel, The Killing Joke. It is revealed in The Killing Joke that he was an engineer who resigned from his job at a chemical firm to become a stand-up comic, only to fail horribly. He offers to assist two thieves through his previous employer at the chemical factory to rob a playing card factory next door in order to support his pregnant wife, Jeannie. The crooks in turn inform him that he must wear the Red Hood's mask and caped attire to frame him. During the planning, he is told by the police that Jeannie and her kid have both perished in a home accident. Grief-stricken, he attempts to back out of the scheme, but the crooks cajole him into sticking with them. Before the operation, the crooks have him put on the red mask and cape at the factory. When they enter, they encounter security guards, and a firefight soon ensues. As a result, the crooks are killed, and Batman, who is investigating the uproar, confronts the engineer. Terrified, the engineer trips and falls into the waste pound of the chemical factory, eluding Batman in the process, and is swept through a conduit going to the outdoors. He notices that the toxins have irreversibly whitewashed his skin, painted his lips ruby red, and colored his hair a vivid green as soon as he steps outdoors. This event and Jeannie's death drive him insane, leading him to become the Joker. But don't get too connected to this story, because the Joker admits to himself in the narrative that he's an untrustworthy storyteller, sometimes recalling the story in one manner and sometimes in another. Thus, we believe the entire Batman-created Joker idea is more of a concept than actual comic book mythology, as Batman doesn't have to bodily create the Joker. In some respects, he's always existed, since he's Batman's polar opposite, and one would not exist without the other.
Let's try and clear this up, okay, Pumpkin? What hurts more? A?
Batman was unable to save Jason Todd. Though initially successful, the character of Jason Todd, created by Jim Starlin, was not exactly well received by the fans once his background was revamped by Max Allan Collins in Batman issue. As a result, in 1988's A Death in the Family storyline, DC Comics held a telephone poll to decide whether or not the character should die at the hands of Batman's foe, the Joker. Todd was killed due to a slight majority of votes in support of murdering him. The following stories dealt with Batman's remorse about not saving him. The character was reborn in 2005's Under the Hood story cycle, when he became the Red Hood, a murdering anti-hero. In the A Death in the Family plotline, Jason Todd realizes that Catherine Todd is not his true mother, and flees to pursue the woman who gave birth to him. Todd ultimately locates his biological mother, Sheila Haywood, in Ethiopia, where she works as a relief worker. While Todd is happy to be renewed with his biological mother, he quickly learns that she is being forced by the Joker into providing him with medical supplies. Sheila and Jason strive hard to escape the warehouse, but are trapped as a bomb goes off, As Batman arrives, it is too late for them, and he discovers Jason's lifeless body amid the ruins. Sheila survives long enough to inform Batman that Jason died while attempting to protect her. The remains are returned to Gotham City to be buried. Todd's death haunted Batman for years later, as he considered it his biggest failure. As a result, he maintains the second Robin's outfit on display in the Batcave. His origin story was also shown in the 2010 animated film titled Batman Under the Red Hood, although it was changed a bit, as there is no Sheila in this version.
Harvey! Why couldn't you save me?
Batman was unable to prevent Harvey from becoming Two-Face. Harvey Dent was not only a good friend of Bruce Wayne, but he was also considered to be the White Knight of Gotham City. His transformation into Two-Face is one of the most tragic origin stories in the DC universe, one that broke Batman. In the comics, Harvey Dent begins as a character who grew up in a problematic family and would someday become a brilliant district attorney dedicated to combating crime and corruption within Gotham. He even collaborated with Batman in order to do this. However, the once handsome and affable DA became a villain after acid was poured on his face by Sal Maroni, irreparably scarring him. The tragedy eventually scarred Harvey, causing him to transform into Two-Face, one of Batman's most vicious adversaries. His origin story was changed in Batman the Animated Series, but became more popular because of the tragic tone. In the animated series, Harvey grew up believing in the rule of law. Dent acquired a reputation for generating results as a law enforcer, contributing to his appointment as Gotham's district attorney. On the other hand, Dent had a hidden dark side. He had a severe mental condition, a split personality disorder that began in his infancy when he wrongly believed he gravely injured a bully in a fit of wrath. As a result, Dent sought to suppress his feelings, but his rage never entirely vanished, but instead grew and became a distinct personality from the well-behaved Harvey Dent. Later, Dent pressured the legal system to arrest Robert Thorne because he wanted to be re-elected. Dent pursued Thorne's case extensively on his own. His re-election campaign was so exhausting that the violent outbursts grew more regular, to the point that his physician suggested committing him to a mental facility to avoid a devastating psychotic break. However, such a move would jeopardize his candidature, so Dent settled on a decreased campaign effort and enhanced medical treatments. On the other hand, Thorne obtained the DA's mental records and learned of Dent's mental illness. Thorne was well aware that if it was used, it might damage Dent's career. This leads to a confrontation between Dent with the help of Batman and Thorne and his men. Unfortunately, during the scuffle, a bizarre explosion wrecked the left side of Dent's face and body, with Batman unable to do anything. The trauma was strong enough to let his other personality dominate, and he was left in a state where good and wrong had no significance. This accident impeded the psyche of Batman, as not only could he save one of his best friends, but it also led Dent down a path to becoming a supervillain. This is also evident in Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, when Batman was unable to save Rachel and prevent Harvey from having half of his body scarred. Batman couldn't save Batgirl. Now, this one's a little harsh because nothing really happened, but Scarecrow appeared to have killed Batgirl, Barbara Gordon, on a mission. A flashback is presented in the episode Over the Edge of the new Batman Adventures, when it is shown that the Scarecrow has surrounded Gotham City Hall. When Batman and Robin dealt with his minions, Batgirl pursued Scarecrow to a higher level on her own. She hit what she believed was him, only to discover it was a piece of his clothes, used as a decoy on an antenna. Using this opportunity, Scarecrow attacked her and whacked her with his staff as she turned around. She landed on a squad vehicle carrying James Gordon and Harvey Bullock after falling from the building. Gordon dashed up to Batgirl and directed Bullock to call an ambulance. After removing the hood from her face, Gordon realized in horror that the member of Batman's squad who was dying right in front of him was his own daughter, Barbara. Gordon and his team then launched a series of pursuits to apprehend Batman and his lackeys, ultimately resulting in the death of Gordon and Batman. In the end, Barbara woke up screaming in the Batcave, realizing that she had been having a nightmare. She discovers that she had been sleeping since the fight at City Hall with Batman and Robin against Scarecrow. Scarecrow didn't strike her, but he did unleash one of his fear toxins, leading her to suffer her greatest nightmare, which was dying before ever revealing to her father about her hidden identity and the ramifications that would follow. This nightmare was over for Barbara and Batman, but only momentarily.
Yeah, well, I had some really interesting nightmares.
Batman was unable to prevent the Joker from shooting Barbara Gordon. We've already mentioned about the iconic graphic novel entitled The Killing Joke, which described the Joker's origin. This infamous graphic novel appears once again as in the storyline, Batman visits the Joker in Arkham Asylum to discuss settling their years-long conflict, only to discover that he's escaped. After escaping, the Joker comes to Commissioner Gordon's residence with his lackeys, where he shoots and subsequently paralyzes his daughter, Barbara Gordon, who was Batgirl at the time, which the Joker didn't know, and abducts James. He transports Gordon to a run-down amusement park and confines him to the park's freak show. Gordon is forced to look at the blown-up images of a wounded Barbara lying naked on the floor after the shooting. He then parades Gordon in front of the park's oddities, mocking him as the average man, a weakling bound to lunacy. In the end, Batman captures the Joker and saves Gordon. Batman and the Joker both chuckle as the Joker tells a joke. The Joker's chuckle wanes as the cops approach, but Batman keeps laughing. It is implied that after repeatedly giving the Joker second chances, Batman becomes tired of his antics and snapped, killing the Joker. It is only a conjecture, as the Joker is pretty much alive today. Nonetheless, the Killing Joke is regarded as one of the darkest comic books ever written. In the aftermath, the character of Barbara Gordon was reinstated as Oracle, a technical advisor, computer specialist, and information broker who is paralyzed and uses a wheelchair.
It's all right, listen.
Batman's unsuccessful effort to rescue Rachel Dawes. The Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy is regarded as one of the most outstanding depictions of Batman on the big screen. After his battles with Ra's al Ghul and Scarecrow in Batman Begins, the Caped Crusader then faces an even greater challenge in The Dark Knight with the emergence of the Joker. With organized crime sweeping all over Gotham, James Gordon and Harvey Dent forged a partnership to eliminate these criminal syndicates, but their plans were interrupted by the Joker. The Clown Prince of Crime relished toying with Batman's psyche and caused havoc all around Gotham, and while he pretended not to be a man with a plan, he most certainly was. The Joker admitted to Batman during the famous interrogation scene, yes, the one that is marred with continuity jerks, that he had abducted Rachel Dawes, as well as Harvey, and imprisoned them in separate buildings set to explode. But there was a tiny twist. The Joker switched the locations of his prisoners while confessing, causing Batman to pursue Dent and the police to pursue Rachel. However, the police did not arrive in time to help Rachel, and she perished in the blast, while Batman rescued Harvey, all as part of the Joker's plot. The Joker surmised Batman's affections for Rachel and understood how he would break him and force him to kill Harvey at some point. Given that the latter was in a relationship with her, the Joker may not have intended for Harvey to be scarred, but it severed his larger goal of Dent being the hero figure of Gotham and Batman being forced to retire as the authorities started to search for him. Batman was unable to prevent the Joker from kidnapping Tim Drake. A middle-aged Tim Drake appears in the animated movie Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. In the movie, a flashback shows that sometime after the conclusion of the new Batman adventures, the Joker and Harley Quinn abducted Dick Grayson while he was on a solitary patrol and tormented him for 3 weeks until he went insane, turning him into Joker Jr., or JJ, a smaller version of the Joker. After 3 weeks of fruitless searching, the Joker gives Batman and Batgirl a hint, leading them to Tim's location, the old Arkham Asylum. As they arrive, the Joker reveals that he and Harley are getting on in years, realizing that neither of them is growing any younger, and it's time to consider starting a family. They did not want to experience the joy of delivery, and could not officially adopt, yet because Batman usually had a few extra youngsters about him, the Joker borrowed one of them. He was eventually discovered by Batman and Batgirl, and instructed by Joker to kill them, but Tim instead killed the Joker before suffering a total psychological breakdown. While Tim was able to heal with the assistance of Leslie Tompkins, the tragedy left him severely traumatized, and he withdrew from his position as Robin. In the end, Barbara laments the fact that, with the final act of cruelty, Joker had, in many ways, had the last laugh, and the mental and physical wounds from that period would never be fully healed.
Oh, your buddy!
Batman couldn't protect Gotham City from Bane. Coming back to the Christopher Nolan trilogy, one of Batman's biggest failures was to let Bane take control of Gotham in 2012's The Dark Knight Rises. In this version, portrayed by Tom Hardy, Bane was Talia's companion and guardian, as well as the League of Shadows field commander. He was a formidable opponent in both strategy and physical warfare. Bane and Batman began fighting each other when they first met. Batman battled bravely to stop the terrorist, but his years of solitude and lack of training had left him weaker and unable to match Bane's superior strength and speed. Bane effortlessly and ruthlessly overpowered, outmaneuvered, and outthought Batman. Bane then counteracted Batman's last strike by slipping one of his vertebrae. He transported a handicapped Bruce Wayne to the Pit Jail, where he had previously been imprisoned, and declared that he would not murder a man who did not fear death, since he meant to mentally torment him with Gotham City's gradual downfall. Then, after creating a nuclear time bomb with the help of Dr. Pavel, Bane arrived at Blackgate Prison with his soldiers. after returning to Gotham. He recited Gordon's intended confession there, undermining the legitimacy of the Dent Act and Dent's heroic character in front of Gotham's residents. Bane then ordered his soldiers to invade the jail and liberate the captives, who were imprisoned under Gotham's elite's corrupt rules. Bane established martial rule and stated that the city now belonged to the people, giving them control over the corrupt Gotham elite who had enslaved them. It was total chaos. In the end, Batman saved the day by defeating Bane and by using his airship to transport the bomb far across the bay, where it safely exploded. While Bane did perish in the end, the harm he caused the city was almost irreparable, since he killed many innocent people and emotionally injured many more. And to top it all off, he was the last villain in the iconic Nolan trilogy, making him the villain to finally retire Batman, well, in a sense. Apart from the movie, Bane has taken over Gotham City numerous times in the comic books, most notably in the No Man's Land and City of Bane story arcs.
One of the maids. Perhaps you should stop letting them in this side of the house.
Perhaps you should start learning to make your own bed.
Batman failed to save Alfred from Bane. Speaking of Bane, Alfred Pennyworth's death at the hands of Bane was one of the most devastating incidents in DC Comics history. Alfred was so much more than Bruce Wayne's butler and Batman's confidant. Alfred was Wayne's second father, and he acted as his conscience when the Caped Crusaders' never-ending battle against evil weighed on him. Pennyworth's compassion and leadership kept the Bat family together. Bane breaks his neck in 2016's Batman issue number 77. Bane and Thomas Wayne, the Flashpoint Batman, kidnapped Alfred and told the Batman family that if Batman entered Gotham City they had taken over, then Alfred would die. Alfred effectively sacrifices himself, knowing that he is Batman's one weakness. In truth, Alfred had no desire to serve as a pawn for Bane in order to prevent Batman from protecting Gotham. Alfred knew that Batman would never do something that would result in Alfred's death, but Gotham required Batman. To that goal, Alfred sent Bruce a coded letter that made it appear like he had fled Gotham City. Batman saw this as an effort to reclaim Gotham from Bane. Sadly, Alfred's plan was a ploy, as he realized his life was the only thing standing between Batman and Bane. Even though Batman tried to prevent Bane with the aid of Robin, he was too late and was mentally crushed after the death of his father figure. In the iconic Batman Nightfall narrative, Bane slams Bruce Wayne's body against his knee with such force that he fractures Batman's back. For a while, Bruce is disabled, making him appear vulnerable to Gotham City's underbelly. Bane killing Alfred was meant to have a similar effect on Batman's spirit. It was an attempt to compel Batman to resign and end his war against crime. Nevertheless, it drove him even more eager to bring Bane down. Unlike in Nightfall, Bane was not the architect behind Alfred's death. Thomas Wayne was. He had arrived on Prime Earth to save Bruce from living the tormented life of the Dark Knight. He believed that murdering Alfred would ultimately shatter Batman, and of course, it didn't. Batman was angrier than ever, and his rage fueled his determination to take Thomas Wayne down after thrashing Bane. Batman was unable to save Damien Wayne. While Batman was plagued by the loss of the second Robin, Jason Todd, the death of his son Damien was considerably even more painful. In issue number 8 of the second volume of Batman Incorporated, Damien is slain while confronting the Heretic, an adult Damien clone. In the comic, when Nightwing arrives to save Damien, we see him battling waves of Leviathan goons in the Thomas Wayne lobby. The two momentarily reminisce about their time as Batman and Robin behind cover before continuing the defense. Damien valiantly engages the Heretic when he shows up and knocks Nightwing unconscious. Nevertheless, the Heretic ultimately prevails and stabs Damien in the heart with a sword while impaling him through the chest, killing him almost instantaneously. Batman comes shortly after Damien passes away and discovers his lifeless body. Angered, Batman engages the Heretic in combat with Nightwing, but they are ultimately forced to flee while carrying Damien's corpse. Bruce swears to exact revenge on his son's killer after organizing a private funeral for the deceased boy Wonder. In an effort to bring Damien back, Bruce was driven to the edge by this death and nearly shattered every connection he had. We witness how seriously Bruce took Damien's death in Batman and Robin Volume 2, issue number 23. Bruce had created a virtual reality environment that repeated the events of the Leviathan strikes, enabling him to try and save Damien several times. Yet, every time Batman tried, he either died himself or Damien died nonetheless. As Nightwing arrived to check on Bruce, Alfred informs him that Batman had been carrying out this task for days and has attempted 447 times to save Damien's life. Batman had always been obsessed, but this degree of intensity had never been seen before. After 447 unsuccessful efforts to save Damien's life, Nightwing opted to accompany him in the virtual reality world, and the two worked together to rescue Damien successfully. Batman made Jean-Paul the new Batman. Jean-Paul Valley Jr. comes from a long line of Order of Saint Dumas assassins, which was previously a branch of the Knights Templar. The Order nurtured and brainwashed him through the method called the System as a youngster, causing him to develop a dual personality between his Jean-Paul persona and Azrael. Azrael's nature was more vicious and deadly, believing it was the incarnation of the true angel Azrael. Valley would eventually resist his indoctrination and battle alongside Batman and his comrades. After Bane shattered Batman's back in the Nightfall story arc, a weakened and dejected Bruce Wayne elected to pass the baton on to Jean-Paul Valley, rather than his long-term companion Dick Grayson, owing to their distancing at the time. Valley had only just come to embrace his new job as the Order of Saint Dumas Avenging Angel when he was requested to forsake his Azrael persona and take over as Batman. He made a shaky start as the Dark Knight, but with Tim Drake's help, he rapidly improved. After becoming Batman, he thinks that Bruce's techniques are a little out of date, and that he must battle criminals on his own terms, which leads him to being significantly more cruel and vicious, frequently with little concern for innocent bystanders. He became increasingly aggressive and insane, enabling mass killer Abator and one of Abator's still living prisoners to die. Valley even had control issues with Tim Drake's partnership, which was shown when Valley nearly strangled him to death and barred him from the Batcave. He isolated the Batcave from Wayne Manor, as well as the Drake estate, and refused to cooperate with Commissioner Gordon and the Gotham police. Valley also had frequent hallucinations of his father and Saint Dumas, who convinced him he was the actual Batman. When Bruce Wayne recovered from his injuries and returned to Gotham City, Tim Drake exposed Valley's incompetence as the new Batman. As a result, Wayne was compelled to fight Jean-Paul at his former home to retake his title. While Valley first took up the role of Batman at Wayne's request, he now refused to return the mantle and claimed to be the only genuine Batman. Bruce duped Valley into removing his armor and helmet and exposing him to strong sunlight after a long struggle that spanned from a Gotham penthouse to a large bridge, before concluding in a clash in the Batcave. The shock awakens Valley from his trance. Valley apologizes and asks for Bruce Wayne's pardon, which Bruce accepts, realizing his involvement in Valley's spiral into lunacy during his time as Batman. After that, Valley slipped into depression and alcoholism, for which Bruce always felt guilty. Batman ignored Blue Beetle, who was seeking help. The Blue Beetle, Ted Kord, found a renewed checkmate group in a Belgian medieval stronghold where Kord was kidnapped in the 80-page special Countdown to Infinite Crisis. He also finds out about OMAC, who were cyborgs that used a virus to take over human bodies to murder anybody with super abilities. They were under the supervision of Satellite 1, which was developed by Batman. To investigate the matter, Beetle sought assistance from Batman, who acted busy and promised to check into it. Beetle angrily stormed out, as he was rudely told to go. Basically, Batman ignored him, which resulted in Beetle investigating on his own, leading him to being murdered at the hands of Maxwell Lord. If only Batman had taken him seriously, things would have been less unfortunate for Ted. Considering Batman also had a part in creating OMAC, he definitely should have taken this more seriously. The good news is that, like every other prominent comic book character, this one has been revived and is still alive, despite having retired as a superhero. Batman failed to save Ace. Ace was one of 5 youngsters abducted from their families and placed in a government-funded institution where they were trained to utilize their abilities as weapons. During their late teens, the Joker freed the children and formed the Royal Flush gang team, using 4 of its members as an intervention to help stop the Justice League from defusing all of the explosives he had set up in Las Vegas. Ace was tasked with using his mind to manipulate those watching the Justice League in action on television. Ace fled, but her mental talents had grown to the point that she could manipulate reality. She constructed a new version of the Royal Flush gang to be her playmates, but they instead decided to fight the Justice League, as she holed up in a fortress built in a municipal park, feeling lonely and forlorn about the childhood that was snatched away from her. Amanda Waller of Project Cadmus arrived on the scene with the information that Ace was about to die due to a fatal aneurysm, and her death might cause a psychic reaction that would kill everyone within miles of her. Batman agreed to be the one to utilize the secret gadget that Waller had given to him to kill Ace before she died. Nevertheless, once Batman approached the stronghold due to Ace's will, he opted not to activate the device, but talked with her and comforted her. Ace told Batman about her resentment at being robbed of her youth in order to be researched and developed as a weapon. She was also aware that she would die and begged Batman to stay with her as a comfort. Batman sympathized with her terrible past. He sat with her, held her hand until she died quietly, observing the effects of her power. Batman appeared, carrying the girl's body. This occurrence persuaded Waller that the world will always require someone with Batman's compassion and abilities, prompting her to launch Project Batman Beyond. He probably named his dog Ace after her because of the enduring impression she made on him after her death. That wasn't so bad, was it? Even though Batman failed to save Ace, he showed what it meant to be a real superhero. Batman was unable to save Gotham from the Joker. The confrontation between the Dark Knight and the Clown Prince of Crime is carried to exciting new heights in Batman Endgame. Following his disappearance in the 2012 story arc Death of the Family, Batman's archenemy the Joker reappears for the first time in this plot. In this plot, each Justice League member was under the power of the Joker, who had infected them all with his poison. Joker also spreads an incurable airborne infection throughout Gotham, which is spread through laughing, and which causes victims to resemble the Joker, transforming positive emotions into violent hatred, resulting in widespread anarchy. Ultimately, the citywide plague was cured, and Batman and Joker perished while fighting when a cave collapsed with them inside. This proves why the Joker is the most dangerous among all Batman's villains. Batman let Ra's al Ghul perish. In Batman the Animated Series, Ra's al Ghul appeared in the story arc entitled The Demon's Quest in the 3rd season. In the plot, Ra's and the League of Shadows methodically planned a setup in which Batman was lured into Robin's kidnapping. The ultimate goal was to put Batman to the test in order to assess his suitability to succeed him. Batman discovers the truth about Raz's role in the affair when he ultimately finds Robin, but he is astonished to discover the purpose behind it all. Batman received an offer from Raz to take over his kingdom and wed Talia, who had fallen in love with him. Raz was transported to the Lazarus Pit as his health declined when Batman refused, where he restored his vigor and youth, but also abandoned Batman to perish. After Batman survived, Raz had already traveled to his desert headquarters to carry out his ultimate plot. Raz had planted explosives in the Lazarus Pits all over the earth throughout the years, and now, due to a satellite, he could destroy them all at once, unleashing a devastating wave that would return Earth to its primordial state. Unfortunately for him, Batman discovered everything and invaded his base in order to stop Raz. While Raz had things under control, Batman was able to halt Raz and destroy everything with Talia's help. Raz lost control of his actions during his fight with Batman and came dangerously close to death. Raz opted to sacrifice himself after realizing he had been beaten. This wasn't much of a failure since Raz ultimately survives and returns, but still, as Batman has a no-kill policy, this was pretty much a mess for him. He also made the lovely Talia cry.
Could you stay with me? I'm scared.
Marvel's verdict. For over a century, Batman has attempted to do good in Gotham City and worldwide. His strategies are effective, well, for the majority of the time, and as a result, numerous villains live in Blackgate and Arkham, while the Dark Knight pursues his mission to eradicate the criminal lifestyle. But at the end of the day, he is only a human superhero with no superpowers in the dark world of DC, so there are bound to be a few failures. I mean, when you think about it, his biggest failure made him choose his career as a masked vigilante when he couldn't save his parents. So ultimately, all these failures make Batman stronger and more determined to not repeat any mistakes. Simply put, without his failures, there wouldn't be a Batman. Which of these failures was the worst to you guys? Do you know any of his other shortcomings that we could have included? Well, let us know in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to leave us a like and share this video with all of your friends. And of course, subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, have a good one and be safe.
He sat with her until her time came.